This is Texans TV.
This week on Texans 360, a conversation for change with Romeo Crennel, plus a look ahead to Kansas City. It's all next on Texans 360.
We are ready to rock in Houston. Rock and roll, touchdown, Texans.
Well, hello, my friends. It's great to be with you. This is Texans 360. My name is Drew Dougherty. I'm your host, and I've got my good pal, Deepi Sidhu of HoustonTexans.com, Texans TV, Texans Radio. She wears many, many hats, but she's not wearing a hat today. Deepi, how you been?
I'm good. Nice to see you again, Drew, I guess we should say. It's becoming a thing now, isn't it?
It is, a Zoom sort of thing. We got a big show, Deepi, because we're going to Kansas City in week one, and we've got to break down that matchup. Plus, we look back at some 2019 Texans rookies, and got to talk about the eye throw, the touchdown, when Deshaun Watson threw a dart to Darren Fells. But we start things off with a little bit of news of the week, and it's quiet all on the home front, Deepi, because the biggest news item this week is that the Pro Bowl is going to be in Las Vegas. And you're the perfect person to talk to about this because you've been to Orlando for the last few Pro Bowls and spent some time with the players. But what do you think about the move? Going to the Strip should be a fun time, no?
It's a work trip, Drew, so let's just keep things straight because I want to make sure I'm still on the Pro Bowl trip. I don't want to jazz it up too much, but I got to say, I was super excited, and just from the reaction around the league, people were super excited to see that the Pro Bowl is shifting to Las Vegas. Orlando, the interest was sort of waning, so I expect to see a lot of big stars out at the Vegas Pro Bowl, and I hope it stays there because as long as I'm covering it, it sure is a lot of fun to hit the Strip, especially after we've been stuck at home for all these months.
So changes there for the Pro Bowl, but more importantly, around the world over the last few months, history has been made with some of the changes, and we have seen some changes here in Houston as well with the Texans. The McNair family has recently started doing conversations for change. They spoke a week or so ago with Travis Johnson, former Texan, and now they took the time to talk with Romeo Crennel, associate head coach, and he's been a defensive coordinator here in town for the last few years. Here is some of that conversation.
So, Coach, Romeo Crennel, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Cal. Appreciate you having me.
It's been a pleasure getting to know you a little bit over all these years. And you're so widely and so highly regarded throughout the league. Can you tell us where you started and how many years? Because it's quite a stretch run. And also drop a little hint about how many rings you have.
Well, I started in Lynchburg, Virginia, outside of Lynchburg, Virginia, in Amherst County. And we lived in the county. My father is the military man. He was in the Army. And we started off, he was gone. I think it was toward the, I was born in 47, so it's toward the end of World War II. And I know he mentioned that he had to take the ship to Africa. And he was talking about being seasick and all of that. So he caught the tail end of World War II. But while he was gone, we lived with my grandparents on my mother's side. And they had 9 kids. And the 2 males, they were kind of off on their own. They were old enough that they'd gotten jobs and they were working. And all the ladies were still in the same house with grandmother and granddad. He worked for the railroad. Somehow or other, and I don't know how, but he had 16 acres of land. And so there was some farming that had to be done. There were some hogs. He had a mule, chickens. And, then on the land, would take the timber off the land, for the stove and all of that. Started out, we didn't have running water. We had to go to the spring to get water. Had an outhouse. And so there was, a pretty humble beginning. But then when my dad came back, he ended up building a house not far from the grandparents, and he and his father, they built it together, and so that was home. And every time the Army wanted us to move, which was generally about every 3 years, you'd pack up and go. And so we would do that, and then when he got stationed overseas, again, we went back home at that time. So that was my beginning. And during that beginning, being in the county, when you went to town, which was Lynchburg, you had to take the bus to go to town, and you had to ride the back of the bus. That was it, you know. Trying to go to the bathroom, if there was not a black bathroom available, you just didn't go to the bathroom. And I feel that it has a different feel, you know, this time. Because when I saw what they did to George Floyd, it hurt my heart. It really did. And then I also think that it hurt the hearts of a lot of other people that were watching. You know, why a policeman, a former policeman, who has the power, who has control, handcuffs a guy with his hands behind his back, and then sits there with his knee on his neck when he was telling him he can't breathe and his chest is hurting. And so I said to myself, what made this guy do that? And so I think that he felt an entitlement that whatever he did, there would be no consequences for him. You know, this is just a black person. And so any human being probably would not have done that. So I don't think the guy, I think he's basically heartless. That's in my mind, that he's heartless for doing what he did. But I think he did what he did because he felt entitled. The black race has been at the bottom of the totem pole for 400 years, and that's not going to change overnight, all right? But if we get everybody doing a little bit, positive change, positive work, now then we can make that change, you know? And hopefully it will not be another 400 years of the same old, because in the black population, that's what it seems like it is. It's the same old.
After the break, he got kicked in the eye and still threw a dime. We're going back to Deshaun Watson's touchdown pass against the Raiders here on Texans 360.
Deshaun calls for the ball. Here's the snap. Watson looking, pocket collapsing. Watson trying to get away. He does to the right, throws to the end zone. Caught by Fells! Magical! Touchdown, Houston! And the Texans take the lead.
What a phenomenal play by Deshaun Watson last season to help the Texans get the win over the Raiders. Deepi Sidhu joins me, Drew Dougherty, here on Texans 360. And Deepi, I say it was a phenomenal play because it was, but then after the fact, when we found out what happened to his eye, makes it all the more amazing.
Yeah, it was hard to avoid because you saw that eye puff up immediately after the game. And Deshaun walked around with this purple, reddish eye and around the eye, like a black eye. And then his actual eyeball was red for weeks after that. It looked so painful, but to watch it again and again, I don't know how he made that play. I think this is going to be one that's going to stand the test of time because we were amazed when we saw it. And I'm still amazed every time I see that replay. Same here.
And it's a play that's worthy of a telestrator, which is what John Harris did here.
Welcome to Texas Telestrator, presented by BMW. I'm your host, John Harris, and one of all of our favorite plays. In 2019, I thought about telestrating it. I realized I didn't telestrate this play all season long, and definitely not in the offseason. Let's take a look at the eye kick touchdown. Now, when I say eye kick touchdown, if you're a Texans fan, you know exactly what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the Deshaun Watson to Darren Fells touchdown against the Raiders that took the lead and helped the Texans get that win against a very good Raiders team. And you can see sort of why it happened, but this is just such an unbelievable play. And you can see where understanding Deshaun being able to escape from the pocket and this offensive players knowing this and the Raiders defenders not, that's how this play comes to be. And I'll show you what I'm talking about in a second. So the Raiders do a nice job here. They're going to play man on everybody. So they're going to man up here, here, there. And Tahir Whitehead is on Fells right here. These two are essentially going to float in the middle. And what they're going to do is just basically take away anything, try to take away anything in the middle of the field. That's what they're going to do, forcing Deshaun to throw to the outside. But they're going to take away anything in the middle of the field with man coverage, and then these two guys sort of playing in the middle. And you can see that. He's going to drop, and look where he drops right there. He drops right there. So they're going to take away anything on this side from here over to here. Fells over here is we're going to Tahir Whitehead. Now, Whitehead does a really nice job initially. He jams Fells. It looks like Fells is going to run the flap, then he realizes, okay, Whitehead's over here, so he wants to come back in here, but Whitehead's doing a good job of slowing him down and then hugging up on his hip. Nothing really is available here. So you look at it and go, yeah, man, it doesn't look good from a lot of different angles. If you're Deshaun, you look at it going, all right, nothing there, that's not, no, okay, oh boy. Now Arden Key is coming right here. And so as Key is coming, what you can see on this right here, which is pretty incredible, is it looks like he's done. Watch these two players right here. That's Fells and Whitehead. Fells knows, get ready. Because as Deshaun starts to scoot out of there, watch Whitehead right here. He stops. Look at him stop. You see him pause for just a second? Watch him pause. Look at pause. See how he pauses? And that's the killer. It just takes that amount of time. Fells knowing, hey, my boy can get out of that. He does. Deshaun fixes his eye, makes sure it's still there, and he hits Fells. It's unbelievable. Watch it from the end zone view. I'll just let it play through. You can watch Fells right there, work on Whitehead. Watch Whitehead, pause. Okay, I'm out of there. And now he's behind it by a yard. Deshaun throws a dime. How do you do that with one eye? I don't know. But somehow, Deshaun Watson found a way to save the Texans on that day, and so did his connection with Darren Fells.
After the break, we're looking back at the 2019 rookies and what they might do in the years to come. That's next on Texans 360. This is Texans 360. It rolls on. My name is Drew Dougherty with my good pal Deepi Sidhu. And Deepi, in 2019, the Texans rookie class, boy, they really made a huge impact. And it started at the top. In the first round, they took Titus Howard. In the second round, they took Lonnie Johnson and Max Sharping. Let's talk about Howard and Sharping, two starters on the offensive line. You add in Laramie Tunsil there, and 3/5 of that line was different in 2019 when those five started together in Tunsil, in Sharping, Nick Martin, Zach Fulton, and then Howard. Texans went 5-1. Bright future up front, and a lot of it in part because of those rookies last year, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of expectation was set on Titus Howard as that first-round pick. There was a lot of speculation. Is he the right guy? Should the Texans have taken someone else? And I think after this first season with the Texans, I think he's laid those questions to rest. Even when he went down with the knee injury and missed a few games and came back for the rest of the year, I think it was a successful rookie campaign for Titus Howard starting there at right tackle, because with Laramie on the left and Titus on the right, you've got two really strong tackles now for the foreseeable future. As far as Max Sharping, I mean, what a sleeper pick he turned out to be. No one really knew where he was going to fit in when training camp started. All of our eyes were on Titus Howard. We thought Sharping could be a project, he could be a depth guy. And then when Sunil Kelemete went down, there goes Max Sharping at left guard. And, you know, his availability, I think, is something that we don't talk about enough. He was there for all 16 games. He started 14 there at left guard. And like you said, I mean, the Texans, 3/5 of their line were set, you know, with last year's picks.
Yeah, it was a great season up front for the Texans, and really revelatory, and really one that was needed after what we've seen around here for the last few years. Then on the defensive side of the ball, later on in the draft, in the second round, they also took Lonnie Johnson. He's a corner who's developing, and you got Charles Omenihu, who could be a major part of the defensive front in 2020 and beyond. Those two guys could be real pieces for the future here on defense for the Texans, Deepi.
Yeah, we see the Texans definitely getting younger on defense. They had a lot of veterans that really held things down for a number of years. But, as you can see, players get older and you really want to build the depth there. So it's nice to have some of these younger guys come in. You had Jonathan Joseph last year sort of teaching the way for Lonnie Johnson. Now he's gone. So will Lonnie contribute more in the secondary? You certainly hope so. And then as far as Charles Omenihu, it seems like defensive front, that front seven is what the Texans have been building on this offseason with the loss of a lot of guys in free agency. So you hope to see a little bit more from him this year. Maybe he can play a bigger role. But certainly as the year went on and with injuries piling up, we saw more of Omenihu. And, you can tell he's a big physical guy and he's going to do good things for that defensive line.
Jury is still out on tight end Kahale Waring. He's going to make an impact, we think, in 2020 and after that. And 7th rounder Cullen Gillaspia came in, helped out on special teams, and good things happened the few times he was on the field as a fullback. And I had a nice little conversation with him recently here in a Drew's Dozen. Well, this is a real treat. We've got Cullen Gillaspia, a fullback, a special teams extraordinaire, and the only 12th man in the history of 12th men from Texas A&M to get drafted. Cullen, first things first, how you been the last few months? I know I talked with you about a couple weeks ago, you and Darren Fells, and you guys were doing well. Everything still good?
Yeah, everything's still good on my end. Just trying to stay in shape and trying to eat healthy when you don't exactly have the resources to do that. So that's been a little bit challenging, but I guess it's kind of made me grow up as a professional athlete. So I'm doing well. One of my things coming in the NFL, which I would tell coaches, is that my entire life I played defense. My first 4 years of college, I played defense. Get to the professional level and I'm playing offense again, but it's a completely different offense. So I still had to kind of learn it on the run, okay, I got to be a fullback this year and I got to be able to play this position. And so it was nice to have this off season where I could really start to understand the offense better. And instead of us, getting thrown to the wolves on the field every day and having to go out there and perform, it's been really cool to be able to focus on the mental aspect of the game and really break down how an offense works and not just what I'm doing, but what everyone else around me is doing.
How excited personally are you knowing what you've learned over the last couple months and knowing what you might be able to help this offense do next season?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to help the team in any way that I can, and whether that's more at fullback or more at special teams or an increase in both or a decrease in one and an increase in the other, that doesn't really matter to me. I just want to be a part of the team and really just be able to help do what I can. I've been working really hard this offseason. I've been trying to get a little bit bigger, get a little bit stronger, get a little bit faster to hopefully have a little more impact on offense. But at the end of the day, I think our coaches know best, so I'm just going to follow their lead, and I'm just going to keep doing my job and what I'm told to do, and I'm trying to do the best of my abilities.
Appreciate the time again. Best of luck in getting ready for 2020. Can't wait to see you on the field this season. It looks like it's going to be a fun one, man. Take care.
I'm excited. Appreciate it.
When Texans 360 rolls on, we are looking ahead to Week 1 in Kansas City. A performance report awaits on Texans 360. Welcome back to Texans 360. Deepi, you're the perfect person to have in this segment because we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, in October, you and I sat next to each other in the press box and we enjoyed ourselves because the Texans won. And in January, things were fun for about a quarter and then all hell broke loose. So, the Texans open Week 1 at Kansas City. Should be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, every time I talk to the Kansas City beat writers, the last year especially, we said, this is going to be a matchup we're going to see every single year because these two young quarterbacks are so much fun to watch. Obviously, the NFL thinks so too because they made them a primetime matchup. It's a lot of fun to watch these two teams play against each other. And then it's the defending Super Bowl champs on top of that. So what a way to build off of a 2020 season if you can get a win there in Kansas City up in Arrowhead.
It's circled on the calendar by the Texans, and it's also circled on the calendar by John Harris, who has this performance report on Kansas City.
It's time for the Performance Report, brought to you by Hyundai. I am John Harris, and it's time to take a look at Week 1 opponent, the world champion, Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs are definitely in run-it-back mode this year. 20 of 22 starters are coming back from a team that had 3 comeback wins in the playoffs, and they took home the Lombardi Trophy. Now, offensively, we know the Chiefs are led by one of the best quarterbacks in the league, 2018 league MVP, 2019 Super Bowl MVP, Patrick Mahomes. and he's obviously not alone. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, guys the Texans have seen plenty. Those are major assets offensively, and Mecole Hardman is definitely a guy to watch. And through the draft, the Chiefs added running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Most often compared to Brian Westbrook, oh boy, a guy that Andy Reid coached when he was with Philadelphia. Now, the offensive line still has a few spots to fill, especially on the interior. Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz might be one of the top 3, top 4 tackle tandems in the league, but inside there are some question marks. If the offense has got an Achilles heel, that's where it might be. Now, defensively, the Chiefs under Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator, came a long way from the time the Texans saw him in Week 6 to where they finished in the Super Bowl, and I would expect them to take even more steps with a lot of the same personnel. Frank Clark was outstanding in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. Tyrann Mathieu was a first-team All-Pro in the league, in the NFL in 2019. And Juan Thornhill at safety, who I think has got a bright future, will be coming back off of an injury. Chris Jones returns in the middle. This might be the best Chiefs defense we've seen in quite some time. However, the corners, I still think there are some problems there, even though there's experience. They lost Kyle Fuller in the back end, which I think could hurt them in their sub-package situations. And linebackers, good. They've got some youth and some athleticism, but some question marks behind the 2 starters, Damian Wilson and Anthony Hitchens, in Dorian O'Daniel, and the rookie from Mississippi State, Willie Gay Jr. So the Kansas City Chiefs are looking to run it back, and it all starts Thursday, September 10th, against the Houston Texans at Arrowhead Stadium. That, my friends, is your performance report for the 2020 Kansas City Chiefs.
Can't wait for the season to get going. And Deepi, I can't wait to see you again in person. But if I got to rate your room, like that Twitter account, Room Rater, I'm going to say that backdrop's an 8, 9, maybe even a 10 out of 10. Good work there.
Oh, I like it. What you don't see is that I took a shower and my hair is soaking wet in the back. So I'll take that 8 or 9. Drew, I like your backdrop as well. I can't wait to be back in the studio. I just can't wait.
Good stuff. All right, Deepi, thanks so much. And thank you also to the guys like Tyler Marcotte, Nicholas Patterson, Jay McDevitt, Tyler Suddarth, and so on and so on. They make everything happen here behind the scenes. For them, for Deepi, I'm Drew. We'll see you next time on Texans 360. And remember, go Texans. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.